The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
John Mousinho on the Callum Lang rumour.
I have seen the reports, but I know absolutely nothing, deliberately, for anything in terms of ins and outs over the past 24 hours due to focusing on the Watford game. So I will now catch up with Rich Hughes and Andy Cullen and see what the situation is there. I have seen rumours online, but I've got no idea. I definitely want him to stay. I've got the ultimate say in everything, in terms of what we do in recruitment. It's not quite as simple as that though, so I'm not going to say he'll stay or say let's go and sign him. There's a lot more factors to it. Just to pick one out, I am sure Eddie Howe wanted Alexander Isak to stay in the summer, but there's quite a few factors which go into transfers. If Preston like him, they like him, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing we can do to stop Preston liking one of our players or anybody liking one of our players. It's a nice compliment to our players and the football club.
I know it's getting plenty of mentions, but Steve Bones' podcast is always worth a listen, and his most recent one, doubly so. He talks about the fact that a number of fans were vocal in saying that Lang could go, or indeed that Lang should go, that they wanted to see the back of him because he was hardly ever available. He always seemed to be injured. Steve coruscates these so-called fans, reminding them that they must have short memories because this is a man who came in and played such a huge part in our title-winning season and staying up last season, and it's not his fault that he picks up injuries, and if you damn him for that, then you're damning half the Pompey squad who are regularly injured and not able to play. John Mousinho knows what he's talking about. John Mousinho says he wants Lang to stay. He almost says he's desperate for Lang to stay. He wants Lang out there on the grass, on the pitch, in a match, in a blue shirt, from the start. That's what he wants. And Steve laments the fact that there are fans who could upset a player if they bother with social media, and we think they do. It's hard to avoid. It's hard to resist the temptation. So it may well have an impact on Lang. Let's hope it doesn't, because the response to the possibility that he might be going to Preston North End, first for £1.5 million, and then the rumour was that they'd upped it to £2 million, has got a lot of reaction, and the wrong reaction from people who don't think.
Shocks felt his quad just towards the back end of the Sheffield Wednesday game. He finished the game, felt a bit of tightness, came in on Sunday, felt okay, he's had a scan, and the scan doesn't look great, but we're waiting for a second opinion because Shocks himself feels okay. We're hoping that it has just been misreported, but we've just got to see what it looks like in the next couple of days. If you are going off the scan report, there's half a chance he could be out for the season. If you're going off Shocks symptoms, then you would think, I spoke to Shocks and it feels alright, it feels like a bit of tightness. We'll have to have a look at it, let someone who knows a lot more than me have a look at the scan, and then go from there. He didn't train, he felt it on Saturday, he came in on Sunday, and he didn't train on Monday and Tuesday. It has nothing to do with the training ground, he might be available for Southampton, so hopefully it's not too bad, but we have to wait for a specialist. A lot of our injuries this year have been picked up in games. I can't remember too many injuries we've actually picked up in training, to be honest. A lot of them are in games, the intensity of which we try to play and try to press. With Shocks, we had a sensible build-up, he had a lot of training behind him before he played 30 minutes against Charlton, he played 60 minutes against Bristol City, he played 60 minutes against Arsenal. We had a full week between the Arsenal game and the Sheffield Wednesday game, so we were really happy he could go and play 90 last Saturday.
Had to look up quad. Should have known for years what a quad is and where it is. It turns out to be the largest muscle group in the upper leg, what we used to call the thigh. Okay, and the fact that nothing has been set in stone as to how bad the injury is, or even what the exact nature of the injury is, just that its location is in that part of the body which is referred to as the quad, means that there is hope, but you have to be careful with hope. As John Cleese says in a film called Clockwise, I can handle the disappointment, it's the hope I can't deal with. But we will hope that Shaughnessy is back sooner rather than later. And if there is a later, that it's not like the end of the season, please. Although, just as a little footnote to that, didn't Connor Ogilvie play well in Shaughnessy's role against Watford? He really shone.
The BBC are reporting the following. Police are working to prevent a repeat of violence that marred a football fixture when it was last played in 2019. Portsmouth and Southampton fans were involved in ugly scenes before the South Coast derby at Fratton Park that year, including an incident where a man punched a police horse. All Saints fans will arrive on 45 coaches for Sunday's repeat fixture and will be escorted by police into the ground. Officers in protective gear, police dogs and helicopters will again be deployed. The force previously said there was no major disruption when the two sides met at St Mary's Stadium in Southampton in a championship fixture in September 2025. However, Chief Superintendent Simon Dodds, in charge of Sunday's operation, said Fratton Park was a more challenging environment due to the proximity of housing. He said, "If we go back to 2019 when the two clubs last met at Fratton Park, we had instances of violence and disorder. People were hurt, officers were hurt, we even had a police horse that was punched." He said the so-called bubble, where away fans are channeled by police, was not available in 2019 due to the short notice of the Carabao Cup draw. 8 men were later jailed for violent disorder. At September's goalless draw, the bubble was used, and there were only 2 arrests. Dodds added, "So much rests on the score, and hopefully this time we'll be lucky enough to see a few goals to make the match more of a spectacle." Portsmouth fans travelling for the 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time kickoff are advised to leave extra time to allow for roadworks on Easton Road.
Interesting that the tidbit about a fan punching a police horse at the last meeting in Portsmouth between these two teams seems to stick in everybody's mind. The police themselves, understandably, journalists, again, understandably. But he said something very interesting, did Chief Superintendent Dobbs, was it? That he's hoping that there are going to be goals, because when there are goals, and it's been a good spectacle, as he called it, there's less likely to be any trouble. He also says that it's harder to police Portsmouth versus Southampton at Portsmouth than it is to police Southampton-Portsmouth in Southampton, because, he says, of all the houses. He doesn't expand on that. I don't think he needs to. I think we can kind of guess what he's driving at there. The fact that it's all cramped and tight and difficult for numbers of police to collect as numbers of police, I guess. It's a bit of a maze around Fratton Park. So there's that aspect to the game which will be borne in mind and will be picked on by journalists. You can bet that the evening news, not just across the south, but nationally, if there is anything, will pick up on it. I have to say this, and I don't judge journalists harshly, quite eagerly by newsrooms, because on a Sunday there's not a lot going on. So we better watch out for some bad publicity, and let's hope we don't earn it, because it does rub off on the club. And of course there's always that danger that if the club are deemed not to have taken sufficient precautions, then we could be sanctioned. So there are lots of reasons why we hope that the game goes off with a narrow win for Pompey, because we don't want a draw, although, as Steve Bone points out elsewhere on Pompey Sound, a draw probably means there's less likelihood of anger after the game. But we don't want a draw, we want to win. We want to win narrowly, and we want the whole thing to go off, without kicking off. Yeah. On this week's Steve Bone Pompey from Every Angle piece for Pompey Sound, it's a podcast, as well as available on our output, I finished by asking him for his favourite memory of a derby match and also his prediction for the end result.
One that sticks in the memory, not necessarily the best one, but one that sticks in the memory is 2003-04. A bit later in the season, it was March. We still needed to win a few games to make sure we stayed up. Home to Southampton, it was before the Milton End had a roof. There was a hailstorm before kick-off, and all the Southampton fans got hailstones battering them, which was very funny. And Yakubu scored the winner in front of the Fratton End, swept one in from about 5 yards. Steve Stone's cross, I think, second half. So
Steve Stone.
Let's have Colby sweeping in across from surprise substitute Callum Lang in the second half. How's that?
Now you are out on a limb, aren't you?
I'm getting carried away now.
It's because
you said I know what I'm talking about.
We're off to see the wizard here. Brilliant. Okay, Steve, as ever, thank you so much for everything. Fingers crossed for Sunday, and
everything crossed.
Talk soon.
Look forward to it.
And you can listen to the whole of Steve's podcast every week by going to Pompey Sound Podcast on your podcast provider, or you can pick him up sporadically here, there and everywhere on Pompey Sound's regular output digitally, or also on smart speaker if you've got an ALEXA. Excuse me, still got that tickle. And Steve's prediction, really worth noting, 1-0 Pompey and Bishop to score.